Yeah, we'll head on and get it on.
All right, man. It is another week, another episode, another show, another day of the Tipping Point Morning Show. It is yours truly, Mr. Just Ask Joe, and my brother from another mother, Brother John Yah, Esoteric Concepts. You ready, bro?
Yes, sir. Let's rock it, man. Let's
Hey,
rock
let's
it.
go ahead and do this thing.
You are listening to The Tipping Point Show with your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, John Yah. Right here on WLOU. Stream it live on Facebook and WLOUonline.com. And now, The Tipping Point Show.
All right. Once again, it's Mr. Just Ask Joe and my brother from another mother, Brother John Yah, Esoteric Concepts. Family, how are you doing today?
Man, I am awesome this morning. This is I think they got the Thunder over Louisville today.
Thunder over Louisville. Yeah, man. This is hey, for those of you that do not know, this is actually the largest fireworks show in America. Okay, largest in America, which means that we get a lot of people coming through. Now, the Thunder over Louisville is actually the prelude to Derby. So typically, Derby is 2 or 3 Saturdays away, and in this case, I believe it's 2 Saturdays away.
Yeah.
Which is typical. But I remember one year where it was 3 Saturdays away, which was kind of interesting. But nonetheless, man, it's Derby's popping off again. How you feeling?
Man, I'm good. You know, of course, I'm out of town every Derby. I'm even out of town.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, I always spend my day in Cincinnati, which is my biggest market. I'm leaving today from this show. I'm up in Cincinnati, so I don't even come back until the parade or the Thunder thing is over with, when the highway's kind of cleared up, letting people in. I'm coming back in town around 11 o'clock at night.
Got you. Because it does get does get a little crazy.
Yeah, it gets hectic. And so I also, since I don't really, ain't no celebration for me. I don't gamble with no horses or anything. So it's really not a hangout place for me. Born here in Louisville, it's no big deal, Derby. And of course, people come in from all over the country. People coming in from the world for the for the fireworks. Of course, I think it's the third biggest in the world. It's the biggest in the United States, but I think it's the third biggest in the world for fireworks. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is. It's the largest in the U.S. and third largest in the world. Because I think like up there in them top 3 is like Japan or something, man.
China. I think China's one.
China, yeah. And they go crazy, bro. They do fireworks. They do waterworks along with the fireworks and music and everything. And in China, technology, they're like 2 years ahead of us with technology. So whatever they invent or create, which I think they just got factories of people that they just like, hey, make something and but 2 years later we get it. But man, they be having all type of digital stuff going on during fireworks and stuff, man. So it's kind of crazy out there, man. But I do enjoy it. I'll be honest. I do like to, we go over to my building downtown, and they do a little thing where it's the Sky Lounge up on the
roof,
29th floor.
Yeah.
And so you remember I showed you that. So that whole view, is dope. And then you got the rooftop. And so they do food and, stuff like that. They got vendors there. They got music. up there, and performances and stuff like that, I believe, as well today. So it's gonna be kind of interesting. I'm gonna go check it out and see how that goes.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So that's right. So you was up there last year during the fireworks, right? Good,
yeah,
good. And your view was facing that direction.
Absolutely, absolutely. My view is facing that direction, so it's facing the water. And my spot is on the 20th floor, and the Sky Lounge is up on the 29th, and then the rooftop is technically the 30th floor.
Gotcha.
So yeah, man, it's a beautiful spot. Hey, shout out to Rashana Morrison, Shalom family. Got you. Let's see. Hamara Mathis, the general. Grand rising to you, sis. Latasha Harrison. Hey, good morning to you as well. All right. Got some people chiming in already. So we're gonna have a good conversation today. We're gonna have a good show. How was your week thus far?
Awesome. Of course, busy, as usual. I don't think I think my life would be really depressed if I wasn't busy. I don't know. It's just I'm always into something and doing something. What's next? I don't know what I would do if I did. I don't know what I would do with my time if I wasn't busy. So, I'm busy and I like it. So it was a great week, from a challenging but great week as we going through these new prices going up. Summer's coming now. It's a change of a little bit of everything when it comes to a change of weather. So even sales are different. People are buying more now clothes that are more summer-like, and they're putting away the winter clothes, and so you see stores scrambling. And plus COVID is gone, from this point, so people are out spending more money now.
But
so
is it gone though? Is it really gone? I mean, I feel like they're still playing around with it.
They are.
We got what is it, the 4th booster shot, I think now. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, I'm not knocking anybody that doesn't go. You do what you do.
Yeah.
But I mean, at some point, I mean, I would have thought booster shot number 2 or whatever, vaccine number 2 or whatever, you would have been like, hold up, dog. I thought y'all said the first one was the end all be all. Yeah. I thought this was the hootie tootie. I thought this was the one, right? But then they came back with a 3rd one, and the 3rd, you got booster vaccine. I don't know, and now a 4th. I mean, at some point, even if you took the vaccines and the shots and everything, you got to be sitting there thinking like, hold up, dog. Like, what is going on? Wait, number 4? Seriously? I thought the 3rd and the 2nd and the 1st was the thing.
Nah.
I don't know. I mean, it's getting to the point to where this is becoming a sense of normalcy.
Yes.
And they're making it normal to I guess go back and get shots again. Maybe that's the plan.
They're making it normal to get used to taking shots without questioning. You see, just like you said, people need to start questioning. And here's the one other issue. And I know I don't want to go into that vaccine issue, but here's the issue I think most people didn't pay attention to. The shots don't work. It doesn't help you. It doesn't prevent you, doesn't stop you, doesn't heal you or cure you. It just doesn't work. And I think they just get normal to taking shots.
I know some people, man, that are just getting sick like all the time. Like, honestly, they've gotten their shots, boosters and all that stuff, and they're just getting sick. They did it for work. Norton's employee that I know, one, then I know a couple other people, but they keep getting sick. And it's just interesting, bro. I mean, I don't want to go into that whole rant, but I'm just saying, bro, I noticed some things, and I know everybody's DNA is different. It's going to affect everybody differently, but it kind of is what it is. But nonetheless, man, we got a great show going on for everybody. Let's see, people. Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, April 23rd. It's the Tipping Point Morning Show. hey, I just, I had to drop that in there. But we have a great show. We have it is special guest Laquisha Moore, as well as Chris Dudley. We have a licensed professional counselor assistant, and licensed professional clinical counselor, right? Both with great backgrounds that warrant them the ability from their education to their experiences, especially Chris with being an officer, having that background there, that gives some great insight into different people and their thinking and such like that. So, this is going to be a good conversation, and we're harping on this, folks, because mental health is important. And a lot of us have really just through the years, we just kind of threw it by the wayside, didn't really pay attention to it. And all of that, I know I can say in our culture, because I believe I speak for the culture when I say this, that we shunned the idea of mental health through the years. Am I right, John?
Well, we shied away from it for many reasons, because basically I believe that it wasn't properly brought to us in a certain way that it's acceptable. I think there's a lot of missing parts to it. And that's just why I kind of want to get into the discussion, because mainly I want to know, and everybody needs to know, where are the concerns? What are some of the individual Black males? We Black males, last time I checked, I'm a male. And what are we going through to where we can't handle it? We having these issues to where, because I'm looking at other races, I'm looking at other cultures, right? And so why is it that it's for the Black man that needs this help? And so I kind of want to dig in to what is unique about us that makes us to where the pressure on us is a little different, to where we're going through this needing this help, and also with the way we treat each other, mainly men. Yeah,
absolutely. I was talking to somebody the other day. Society has this this thing with I guess in a sense not, I don't know, we look at men differently. Men have always been looked at like these, in my viewpoint, like these concrete blocks that aren't supposed to have any type of feeling, aren't supposed to have any type of thoughts or anything with them. And it's just interesting when you really look at it. People feel like men don't, we have this ideal, right, that men don't cry. Therefore, it's an ideal that they don't need anything. They don't need help with anything. They don't need support with things. And I don't know, man, it's just kind of crazy the way society, to me, has looked at men through the years,
Interesting.
So, in my viewpoint, it just seems like society is kind of given that label. Therefore, there's not as much support for mental health when it comes to men. And again, I've said this before, shout out to Charlemagne the God, who openly talked about it. And as a celebrity, it did bring forth more awareness to mental health in general, men and everything else. So good stuff there. Now we're supposed to have our excuse me, crypto roundup, but we may get into that later. But I do want to let everybody know, you can go to thetippingpointshow.com, right? You can click on the menu, look at partners, and you can go from Bitcoin to Coinbase. You can click on any of that and just kind of see what we're doing. We're going to be adding more partners that we're working with there, because this is a situation to where, especially when it comes to crypto, we're talking new money. Okay, we're talking new money. So nonetheless, I want to make sure we give a shout out to some more people chiming in. Vicky Latif Wayne, shout out to you. Morning, sis. And Phyllis Satia. Maya's there. Churchill Myers, shout out to you. Great rise. Layla Danette Wallace, shout out to you. Grand Rising sis. You're still the educator in mine eyes. All right. And hey, Chris Dudley chiming in just the same on social media. And hey, he said it's great to be here again. So, without further ado, man, we can go ahead and kind of get into this conversation. I'm gonna go ahead and bring Crypto Kenny in real quick.
Let's do it.
Crypto Kenny, let's jump in and let's go ahead and let's talk Bitcoin campus, baby. Let's go.
Yes. Again, appreciate you guys on this Saturday morning. This is my Saturday morning coffee. It gets me mentally prepared for the day. Just wanted to kind of put together some kind of new information for you guys in terms of how you look at crypto. We've spoken about passive income before. We've spoken about other areas that you can get better. I know last week we were speaking about mental health and how to keep yourself busy and how to have a schedule that you can pay attention to that constantly grows, something you could build on, right? So compounded interest is something that you want to pay attention to, right? And what compounded interest basically means is if you're investing into something, whether it's a cryptocurrency investment platform or if you're into mining or staking, these are some terminology you probably want to write down. You can turn a small amount of money into a very large amount of money if you just continue to reinvest and compound the money that you've earned. So an example of that would be, let's just say that, and these are things that you could find on Bitcoin Campus. So you could speak to Joe or John and they can direct you in the right areas. So you can speak with someone like myself or the other consultants that are there. But what you can actually do, for an example, if you were making 10% on your money a month, right? And we have that in certain programs. I'm not going to specifically mention them right now. You'd have to, actually go further into Bitcoin Campus to find out that information. But let's say you were making 10% on your money per month. And you started with $100. $100 is a small amount. Anybody could take $100 and throw it out the window and it won't ruin your life, right? So just think about that concept. So if you were making 10% on the $100, after a month, it'd be $110, right? Now, if you think about that, if you could either take that $10 out and say, wow, I just made $10 on my money. And that would be, pretty much simple interest. But to compound interest, what you would basically do is not even take the $10. And now it's $110 at 10%, right? So the next month, it wouldn't be $10 anymore. It would be maybe close to $11, right? So the reason why I'm bringing up that example is that's how, if you're not in the environment of learning how to grow your money, what you have to do is take disposable funds, money that you don't care about, money that, instead of going, out to eat, if you didn't go out to eat and you knew you would have spent $100, take 50 of that and put it and invest it. Right? Because you just figured, I was going to spend that money anyway. So if you train your mind to behave like this on a regular basis and you incorporate it into a lifestyle, you can use compounded interest to turn small amounts of money into large amounts of money. It'll take you 5 months, a year. It'll take you time. But imagine turning $100 into $1,000. Imagine turning $300 into $3,000. You can do those types of things with the right formulas. And you could use cryptocurrency to do that. There's a lot of staking, farming, mining components within that, not to mention, platforms that'll trade for you. They're investment platforms. Some of them are not, you have to vet the right companies because, cryptocurrency is not regulated. So there's a lot of scams and things that, are out there that people have to be cautious of. However, if you do find the right legit companies or programs, they can change your life in terms of how you look at the circulation of money. And, there you have it. So Bitcoin Campus gives you leverage and residual or quote unquote passive income opportunities. Like I mentioned before, there's 3 ways to make money in society. There's linear income, leverage income, and residual income. or passive income, right? Residual, passive, same sort of thing.
Right.
If you understand and you play in that arena and you start learning more and more of it, give yourself the time it takes to learn. You'll see in a year's time, in 2 years' time, you'll look at money totally different. You live life totally different. And hopefully, with the knowledge that you guys bring to the community, along with some financial advice in a cryptocurrency industry, we can merge those two and get it done a little bit easier for the folks out there. So that's my time today. Hope you guys understood a little bit about the compounded interest analogy or example. But if you want more information and platforms that'll actually grow your money as well, reach out to Joe so he can give you the link for the Bitcoin Campus portal, and you'll have the resources and the educational aspects that you need in order to be successful.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So thank you, brother Crypto Kenny himself. Man, we appreciate you. You're always on point, man. You're bringing in the rule of 72 and everything to the table as we're talking compound interest, man. It's good stuff. So that's what the Bitcoin Campus.org is all about, folks. Go to thetippingpointshow.com, click on partners, and click on that logo that you see that says the Bitcoin Campus. And guess what? Go ahead and do this, folks. Hashtag the Tipping Point Morning Show as you share this post, and the person with the largest number of shares, right, with that hashtag the Tipping Point Morning Show, right, we will give you a free lifetime membership to Bitcoin Campus. All right. So what that is lots of informational. It's a Telegram account that's shared. You've got different leaders within the group as well that can guide you along the way. There's Facebook groups, all type of stuff, folks.
Yeah, the video library, the platforms, and the thing is, association is key, folks. Association is priceless. Being able to spend your time with, brothers that are focused on moving the needle, increasing knowledge to the community and making sure that we as a community are doing the right things and performing correctly and being leaders. Association is something that, you can't really put a price tag on. It's not about what you know all the time. A lot of it is who you know. You think about all the stories you hear in history. There's some great people that never got discovered because they didn't have the right association. So association will always trump. I hate even saying that word, but will trump.
Hey, don't get too mad at it.
Well, I'm just saying, it's not what it used
to be. It's all good though. It's all good.
But yeah, association. Even when you are successful, in order to maintain your success, you're going to always have to pay attention to the people that are around you. Are these people building you or are they destroying you? It's one or the other. You either build or destroy. There is no in between. So, appreciate you guys again, man. Wow.
Hey, my man. Hey, appreciate you, brother. Always coming with the beautiful energy there. We love you. Appreciate you. Until next Saturday.
Yes.
Peace.
All right, guys.
Peace, brother.
All right. So, folks, without further ado, this is always dope coming after brother Crypto Kenny there. Without further ado, we are going to bring on our guest again, Laquisha Moore, as well as Chris Dudley. Welcome to the Tipping Point Morning Show. How y'all doing?
I'm doing well. Good morning, y'all. How you doing?
Good. Awesome stuff. So, let's see here. I want to go ahead and just let you guys introduce yourselves and tell the people, your name, who you are, what you do, and we're gonna start as the courteous gentlemen that we are. Ladies first, Mr. Quisha Moore. Can you please go ahead and intro yourself?
My name is Laquisha Moore. I am a licensed professional clinical counselor. licensed in Kentucky and Indiana. I currently am a treatment director at a group home called Option to Success for teenage girls. And then I recently became the sexual assault therapist at the Center for Women and Families in Indiana. I do a million things. I also own my own business called Levitate. So yeah, that's me.
All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate you. Brother Chris Dudley, you're up there, sir.
Yeah, my name is Chris Dudley, as you've all heard. I'm a licensed professional counseling associate. I work at Revitalist, which is a ketamine-assisted psychotherapy place here in Louisville. I have my own business, Empowerment Counseling, where I work in association with Willow Counseling Services, where we do telehealth. And I, of course, was a police vet for 11 years. And that's me in a nutshell.
Man, that's what's up. Yeah, I want to ask you real quick, Chris, which one do you enjoy more? Police or therapy? What are you doing now?
Therapy it feels like my purpose. It feels good. I love going into rooms and helping people and guiding folks however I can. I've helped so many, and I enjoy it tremendously.
Awesome. I was just curious thought that popped in my head. We have all these predisposed notions about police, and I think people bring a lot of potential energy their own way. But with that being said, then it tends to be like that, where you kind of wonder, do some of the police officers put on their uniform and that's their therapy when they go to work? But
none be out there helping folks. I'm not gonna lie, I did some pretty great things as an officer, but sitting down and helping folks talk through issues is more my speed now.
Got you. So, Brother John, I know you have some questions and comments and things lined up. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you kind of jump in, and y'all know how I do. Sometimes I grab certain things that are said, and we'll jump in, grab that, throw it out, and we'll talk about that in the moment. So excuse me when it comes to that, but that's kind of how we do with this show, and we want to make sure that the crowd gets questions and things answered. I'm seeing YouTube, I'm seeing Facebook, so it looks like everybody is able to chime in from all of the locations. So that's what's up. Go ahead, Brother John.
Peace, everyone. Thank you for coming back on, because definitely this is a serious topic that we trying to want to kind of get a little handle on, along with some answers or some solutions. I think we can point out the problem, and then sometimes people who are listening, you can hear the problem and also you can hear the solution inside of that, right? So we're looking for solutions, because basically we're talking about men and the mental health. So one of the things I kind of want to curve and look at from a outside point of view of looking into it from a mental status. We all men, except for the sister there. So we're all talking about men's mental health and what's going on with men, right? Mm-hmm. So what is it about when a client comes to you? What is it that stands out that is associated with his mental health compared to another race? In other words, this particularly is catered to the Black male. What is it specifically he's dealing with that's catering to him only and no other male that is affected by it? Can anyone answer that?
I'll let you go first.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you want me to go first?
You go first.
All right, sure. Well, I have to say that us Black men, we know that we're not so different from all other men. We oftentimes want the same thing. Now, there is the difference that we were raised in a matriarchy that's affected us a certain way. Our culture has affected us a certain way. We have to deal with different things from our brothers and sisters than other cultures typically have to deal with, and that does cause some amounts of trauma, and it changes the way that we perceive the world. But each person that walks in is different, I couldn't say that there's a major issue that is specific to Black men, because we really do want the same thing that all other races want.
Okay.
I would say the thing that I probably do see, it's not super different than other people, but I would say the amount of trauma that Black men have endured or witnessed is heightened, and then also I would say the way they think about success or like having what they want is, I think there's a diminished like motivation about that due to oppression. Like seeing a glass ceiling or feeling like they can't move up the way they want to in the world. And then I would say building, it takes a little bit longer, I think, to build trust with Black men in therapy for them to start to really open up and like tell, the deeper issues that they've dealt with or experienced.
Do you specifically find Black men harder to open up with a woman opposed to a man? Do you find them easier sitting on talking with you, or?
I think Black men open up to Black women or just women therapists, period. I think men feel comfortable with women sometimes in a different way that they feel comfortable with men. Like like with me, it's easier to show vulnerability, I guess, with a woman, than it probably would be with a man. But I don't think the outcomes are very different once the rapport of trust is built.
Have you ever came across an issue where
hey John,
about
John,
that
I think
before.
Chris wanted to chime in on that as well.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. Once the rapport is built, it's easy to open up, of course. But I find men, when I speak to couples a great deal. Men are typically more reserved. It's just who we are, and it is more difficult to gain the trust of Black men. But when speaking to a man versus when I've seen therapy with a woman, Black men understand when they're understood more. I have, of course, just a natural connection. I've had to go through the same issues with our women and with our relationships. And so I have a deeper understanding of what it's like to actually be oppressed, not only by the rest of the world, but by folks in our own culture. So it doesn't take me long to express that, hey, I get it. And then the opening comes faster because we start talking about the deeper issues that we're oftentimes afraid to speak to about other people. Black men, we don't have a safe place to speak anywhere, typically. Saying the wrong thing can have us canceled almost immediately. So we really do, when we speak to other men, feel more comfortable.
It's interesting. Now, when we had the show with Sister Moore, when we had you on, there was some conversations I've had after the show with some brothers, and particularly, not many, first of all, but particularly, I think a conversation came up about how can a sister help a brother's issue? And I remember talking about in that discussion that the man comes from the woman. Why could not the woman teach the brother to help him heal? Have you came across, what do you think of that when someone thinks like that? When a man thinks that, what can a woman tell me about me being a man?
I would think it was a little narcissistic. No, I'm just playing. But I've had that same, even when I was times when I looked for a therapist, like, what can the other therapist tell me? That I can't tell myself. Or as a man, like, what can she tell me that I don't already know, right? But the truth is a lot, because like you said, I don't have to be a man to understand, to be competent of the issues that affect men. It's like, a heart surgeon doesn't have to perform heart surgery on himself to do it on you. Like, there are, and we have to get away from almost the way that we do this about things and just get to her, like counseling or different things. Anybody can help you. My counselor was a white man. He wasn't a black woman. But that is a person who's impacted me and helped me a whole lot in my life. So I think we have to get away from putting labels to help. Because help is help.
And I agree with that. You're right. Help is help.
And Chris did throw that out there last show when he was on. He talked about the fact that we do need to get away from basically the same thing you just said, the labeling and acting like we can't get help. But go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. But yeah, help is help, and we definitely need to seek that from whomever we can get it from. But shared experiences, they foster a deeper connection. When you really understand, when somebody knows that you understand them, it's faster and it's more effective typically.
Correct.
Maybe not in the long run, but you can get to more quicker. A lot of us have scars from, our mothers. We were in the Black community, we were raised by our mothers, typically 80% in single parent households, and usually it's the mom there. And we saw really poor behavior from a great deal of them. And then we saw them around their friends, treating Black men like they aren't shit. And so when you're there, sometimes speaking to someone who reflects someone who scarred you, it's just more difficult. And so while women, female therapists can understand you, they can help you, they can be there for you, they can help heal you. Male therapists, we have a deeper natural connection.
So you're saying by the fact that we've in a sense gone through the same things, then we have that connection. So that's interesting. I want to ask you guys a question. How do therapists train? Like how do you? I mean, when y'all go to therapist school, are y'all doing suicides? And doing jumping jacks and stuff like that. How do you get trained to be a therapist?
I love that you asked that, because I think that a great deal of my training as a therapist was attacking my own belief systems and things about my own biases and things about helping other people. You really get trained by doing your own work while you're in school on your own thinking. And I think also being able, a year into school, you start working with clients, you start doing therapy, or being able to see people. But a lot of that is you're being guided by other people above you on how to maneuver in cases and understand the issues that you're seeing. But
that makes me wonder, because when you said what you just said about kind of working on yourself in school, I've always, maybe it's a bit of a joke that therapists become therapists to fix themselves. They do that.
That's not a joke. That's real.
It ain't the reason you become a therapist, but it happens because you're learning the cognitive distortions. You're learning all the different behavioral responses that maybe you've had yourself. You're learning how to see those in other people,
Right. That's where the shared experiences come in. In order for you to be able to understand and go depth with someone, you have to share that experience also. It is like me talking to people who come out of prison. A person who's never been to prison, you can't talk to them and really get to them like I can for someone that's been to prison and has experienced that side of the system. And I have talked to two different groups of people, and I know young men who've never been to prison. It was a different ball game. I'm trying to reach them, but I reached them through business. But through the other side, when I was doing prison lectures or prison ministry, I was reaching 100% of them because they understood what they needed to know to make it out here, and seeing someone that was in prison and come out and make it was therapy for them. In other words, in that sense.
And
to think that way is like saying that if somebody gets traumatized because they were on the street and they got a gun to their face and they got robbed, they can't be treated by anybody who hasn't had that same experience. That doesn't work. It doesn't flow. Otherwise, the only people who would be to treat you is
I would say
you can find who've gone through exactly that.
They can be treated better by that person that has that.
Well,
that
I wouldn't
shared
even
experience,
say better,
right?
because I think what you're thinking about is somebody who connects, right? Like connects to my experience, like he's saying. But
Correct.
even like when I was in therapy, even though my therapist did not have the same exact trauma as me.
Correct.
Your therapist was a white man.
Yeah, but he had trauma, so he understood
Correct.
that my trauma as well. He was a trauma-informed and a culturally competent therapist. That is what is like. You have to be trauma-informed and culturally competent. And even culturally for Black women, even understanding Black men in the culture, is important too. I think you can find a way to connect with anyone.
Correct.
You can find a commonality that deepens your connection with anyone if you're listening to them and paying attention to what's important to you. So I think to think that, you have to have, like, I am a very effective therapist with people who have sexual trauma, but that is because I am a sexual trauma victim. So I am able to see what it is that they need. Right. So that's where I understand Chris, and even, are y'all both named Chris? Chris Dudley.
Nope, only I'm named Chris.
John. Okay. Well, I'm getting mixed up here with
Mr. Just Ask Joe.
I'm sorry.
and Brother John.
Brother John. What you guys are saying about reaching people who you've had shared experiences with. So that's what I know to be true. That you can. It's easier to get to it because you know exactly what you're getting to.
Correct.
But that doesn't mean that someone else who doesn't have those experiences can't be just as effective if they understand the dynamics of those experiences.
Correct. And that's why I was using that phrase that Chris used, shared experience, when he was relating to men. And we was trying to explain that the woman can go just as deep as a man in that experience. Because basically, if you grew up with a bad mother, or a mother that gave you the problems, then you will point out the fact that most cases men have issues and it starts with their mother, because that's a shared experience. In a lot of cases, a lot of therapists don't see that. They may see the father or another end of it about the problem with the child, not connected to the mother. Everybody's got these different ways of viewing it when they're looking at, I guess, trying to find the point to heal that individual or what it is they're going through.
Right. And sometimes a healthy person who maybe reminds that person of that unhealthy person, having a healthy person, building a different relationship with someone that you find to be a healthy person is healing as well.
Right. So now, what are some of the issues that men particularly are dealing with that bothers them? Is it finance? Is it dealing with women? Is it being a parent? What is it specifically that interferes with their functions in society as a man?
Give us a top three of what y'all see.
I would say depression, anxiety, and at times low self-esteem.
Okay, but when you say that, all right, so and Chris, I'm gonna get you to answer, but when you say that, depression, anxiety, what are they like? Give some specifics. Let's go deeper and say what are the top three? Like, what are they depressed about? What are they having high anxiety about?
Issues. What are their issues pertaining to?
Yeah, like what are top three issues that men are dealing with today that you see as you've been counseling people?
I would say barriers to achievement, and then interpersonal relationship issues.
I'd say some of the
now, real quick, that's two: barriers to achievement and interpersonal
relationship issues, and then like not being able to control their emotions. Like, and mostly to me, that's more like a anger thing than it is like a sadness.
Okay.
Go ahead, Chris.
I'd say we're dealing with a lot of PTSD, And that comes from our childhood and being treated like we're nothing. You know, Black men are ignored universally and taught that, you know, by all your friends, by the women in your life, that you're nothing. We also struggle with, like Laquisha said, interpersonal issues a great deal. We're not given examples of good relationships, and so we don't know how to model good relationships. And then I wouldn't say there's anger issues, but there's hopelessness about us. We typically don't think about the future that much because we were told from the start. You know, I know my mom told me by the time you're 18, typically you'll be dead or in jail. And we hear that again and again and again. And unfortunately for nearly a third of the Black men, that's true. Most of us will end up in jail at some point earlier on in our lives, and many of us will end up dead. And so we don't have the hope of things getting better. As far as relationships goes, our women don't listen to us. They don't care what we want. They're all bosses. They're doing their own thing. Well, not all of them. Let me take that back.
I mean, would you say that's more in this day and age?
Yes. Yeah, that wasn't true prior to like 1965. Our women supported us back then. But nowadays we don't have the support anymore.
Okay, so let me notate this real quick.
Which is what they should be doing.
Absolutely. So those top 3 issues. Now I want to just show the comparison between the two of you. So barriers to achievement. Quisha Moore said. You said treat it like nothing. To me, that's kind of the same in a sense, because being treated like nothing would, in a sense, be a barrier to achievement, right? Interpersonal relationship issues. You both notated that, and then Laquisha, you said uncontrolled emotions, and Chris, you said hopelessness. So in a sense, you know, if you feeling hopeless, then man, I can see some uncontrolled emotions, you know, fostering and festering because of that. So, you know, when we look at those top 3 issues, how do we overcome? Because I mean, I can relate to some of this, you know, even personally. I can be a man and admit that, you know, I can relate to some of this through the years coming up. And I know for me, I can say that when I was younger, as great of a, you know, I've had a 2-parent household my whole life until my mother died my whole life, but my mom died in 2015, right? Nonetheless, you know, had something good to look at, something good to model after, right? But I didn't have as great of a father as I have. I didn't have anyone that sat me down and said, focus on this career-wise or what have you. So as I got older, I did a lot of different things, you know, and with that in mind, you know, years later, I look back and I'm like, man, I kind of wish I had just focused on this one thing, made a great career out of that, rose to the top of that one thing, so that I could, you know, be more focused on that. So when I look at these top 3 issues, then, you know, I want to go a little bit deeper into this as to how we kind of solve or resolve, or how do you therapy someone in or out of that.
Go ahead, Laquisha.
So if you're thinking about direction, that's what I feel like I hear you saying, is like no one gave me like a real direction to go into. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, barriers to achievement. Right.
So not having direction, and I think that is kind of a trial and error thing for most people. But I I would have a person start to look at what are their natural gifts and strengths. You know, what are you actually good at? What do you care about? Because even when it comes to finding your purpose or what you want to do, you don't want to be really led into that as much as you want your gifts to be nurtured. You want to nurture gifts that you already have. So, like, if I were in counseling with someone who were dealing with barriers to achievement, I would start at what do you care about and what are your natural gifts and abilities.
Right. If you're looking for a path, that's a great way to start therapy, trying to just figure out what you're good at and what you desire.
Mm-hmm.
As far as fixing it going forward, we need families. You know, those who are younger and who are coming up that are still being born to single parent homes. That's one of the fastest ways you can fail. You know, that lowers your chances of getting better education. It lowers your chances of being in a good neighborhood, because single parent homes can't afford nice houses typically. It just decreases your chances of a positive life overall. And so those who are currently running the world and creating things, we need to figure out what we're good at. But for our children, we need to become families. And then with our families, we can become communities and help build each other up and do something for each other. We're all out here as a bunch of individuals,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not doing anything for us.
I do think there's a struggle with us being spread apart and not together. But when I think of it from like a therapeutic standpoint, like locus of control, like what can I fix as a therapist? It's just starting with individual mindsets, you know, because we can preach all day about people coming together, but if people don't have the coping skills, the interpersonal relationship skills to be able to, you know, deal with each other, then it doesn't matter. You know, we are like broken individuals are not going to be able to come together effectively.
All right. So Chris, you more focus on when you're looking at one of the biggest pieces, the women, the single household, and being raised by women. I kind of get that, because when you look at society today, you look at a twofold, where it was back then, it was different. You had more of a two-parent household. Here now you have a single parent, and most of y'all women are raising the boys, and most of y'all boys are the ones that's really like in this world of getting in trouble with lacking of men. What do you say to that, and how do we fix that? Do we remove the women out the way? Or how do we fix the women in order to have this functional, healthy mindset of a male?
Our women have to pick better, make better decisions. 51% of men are single and childless. Black men. 51% of black men are single and childless. 64% are in the middle class, and about 34% are married. So between those who are married and those who are single and childless, it's the other 16% who are having 80% of the kids in the black community. And it's women. Women control access to sex. They control access to who gets born. But men control access to marriage and relationships. And so women choose to have sex and have children by men who don't have their lives together yet, who are young, you know, and up and coming, but they're not really there yet. And so they're not capable of leading a family. You know, you're 25 years old, 27 years old. You're not built up to be a leader yet as a man. And so it's up to our women to, one, start age gap dating, because the men that they want are those in their 30s who have gotten their lives together, who are able to provide and support, and stop having. And once you have a somebody else's child, you have some, 21-year-old child, and then the dad's not around, and because you didn't want him around, and you break up with the relationship, and you're going around with somebody else's kids. Men who are more valuable, later on in life, men who have put their shit together, don't want to raise another man's kid. If you don't have kids, We don't want to raise another man's child. So then our women can't get those men, and then are typically upset with the men for deciding to not choose a woman who has had another man's child already. And so we have very, very few eligible wives in the Black community.
Before we move up from that, I got one more question. I got this question I wanted to ask. And damn, it just skipped my mind too, because basically you said something very important. I like that when you was making that reference. But let me ask you, the women that you say are picking bad because of their choices, is it because those women didn't have a father in their life? So it goes back to the man again.
Those women didn't have a mother to teach them how to pick properly. And it's also because the father's not there to women.
The father would be the example of a good man in the relationship that they would choose.
You're right. There's that, but women don't listen to men. They don't listen to their fathers either. And so, they go out and they pick men based on what feels good in the moment.
Y'all women just running around here with your ears, plugs in your ears and stuff like that. Y'all just ain't listening to nobody.
So they don't come to their fathers. Bring that boyfriend that you want to your father and let your father judge that boy. But
remember, the father's not there. So if the father's not there,
that's not us. Women leave relationships.
But are we pointing the finger at
numbers? I don't just say stuff out of the blue.
Are we always pointing the finger at the women though? Is it just up to them?
Let me go with the numbers.
Go ahead.
Out of the blue.
Let me hear your numbers.
I want to know who came up with the numbers.
The divorce rate in the Black community is over 70%.
That's right.
Yep.
80% of the filings are women.
Okay.
So it's women leaving relationships. That's not just some BS, and that's not feelings that I'm talking about. That's statistics. Women leave relationships. It's not men.
So she's wrong for leaving, or maybe this is the
yes.
Yes,
she's wrong for leaving. Yes.
Right. I disagree with that. Let me explain it to you.
Go ahead.
If a relationship is not working for the sister, and it's not working, why should she stay? The point is that somehow we're broken, and there's this broken piece. How do we fix this broken piece? Your view of the broken piece is the woman. My view of that broken piece, of that woman that's broken, the reason why she's broken is because she didn't have a father. In most cases that I have found, women that wasn't raised and didn't have a father, not just a dad, I mean a father. Let me explain this one. Let me do this.
Relationships are being left nowadays for petty reasons.
Right.
Remember, prior to 1965, we were married at an over 85% rate.
Correct.
People got together, and I promise you, when you get together with someone, there's going to be problems. You're not going to mesh up all the time. Men and women are two different. We think differently. We behave differently. We move differently. There's going to be problems. But women back then toughed it out, no matter what. And it's not that relationships were abusive. That wasn't the issue. As a matter of fact, nowadays, women are the more abusive. It's not even men.
But for what you're pointing that the women then are not the same today, brother, the men today are not the same as yesterday.
No, Absolutely. We're moving the same as we always have. Now, we haven't been taught as well anymore, but we're still.
So that would dictate that the men today are not the same as those from yesterday.
Exactly.
So we're still moving the same way. We want to get out. We want to work. We want to make something of ourselves. We want to build. But how do we build when we don't have a partner there to help us build? To not to be right by our side, but to be at our backs, to take care of the household, to be there for us. We don't have any foundation at home, so we can't build.
I agree with that, but it is a two-way street because you got young men out here that are being. I'm not today, but let's just take it 20 years ago. Let's take it 30 years ago. You got men that are not being raised properly due to fathers not being in the home, due to not having an example of a good woman. There are issues there, but it's twofold. It's on both sides. It's not just
why is the father not in the home?
Oh, for many reasons. For many reasons, the fathers are not in the home.
Always to do with
we can't go with many reasons. Why are they not in the home? Because once again, 80% of divorces are filed by when they're leaving relationships and taking the kids with them.
Are you talking to these 80% of women and asking them why they leaving?
Yeah, I definitely want to get Sister Moore.
It's usually unreconciled differences. That's usually all that's put on the divorce decree. I disagree with them, and typically that boils down to I stopped having fun.
No. I need for you to get in, Sister Moore. I need for you to explain that one that you want to. I see you breathing.
I could tackle this from a couple different ways, but I think that this is the problem, right? Okay. The problem with why Black men and Black women cannot get on the same page is because we're too busy blaming each other for why things are the way they are. I'm not blaming. I've had failed relationships. I have children by men who are not, that I'm not with. I know as a woman and as an intelligent woman that I left those relationships for a good reason. But what I've done is I've put my ego to the side to co-parent in a way that my kids have not missed out on having both of their parents in their life. So even as a single mother, a person who has not been married, because I won't even say single. I mean, I've had help over the years. I've been in long-term relationships, so I can't even say that I always parented alone. But you know, having a 18-year-old son who's not in the streets, who's a football star and headed to college, like every situation doesn't turn into that. And just because you're single doesn't mean you have to be broke and disadvantaged and not be able to raise your kids in good communities. I totally am raising my kids in good communities. I'm totally making the income that I need to provide them the life that I want them to have. So there's a set of people that really don't know what's available to them to be able to do that. They're not empowered enough to do that, because single or married, you can give your children a good life. But the thing about it is, I agree that we need to have more families and all of that, but I don't agree with blaming the Black woman, for why things are this way. Because when you look at the change from when he said from 1965, what has happened since then, right? That has not been, Black women didn't just decide, oh, you know what, I'm tired of being with Black men. No, what happened? That is what the implementation of the welfare system. That is where what the women got more codependent on the government than their men. Mm-hmm. So that is not because women were just forsaking their men for the government. It was, no, I have to feed these kids. We don't have anything. Right. So now I'm getting what I need from where I can. Now I got to follow all these rules. They said I got to follow to have these things. So to me, the breakdown in the family came with the implementation of the welfare system. Instead of giving us, they should have gave our men jobs, but that's not what happened. So now
they took the jobs.
He was out for this money and this check and this. I'm taking care of him too, because he's disadvantaged and he can't get what he needs, and it's not because of him, but nonetheless, I have another, barrier or another responsibility too. But I just, I heard a lot of times people blame like Black women's attitudes, and I'm not saying that toxic masculinity traits do not exist in Black women. A lot of
toxic femininity.
When I hear men talk about Black women, my first thought goes to who raised you, because for a man to have like deeply seated like issues the way women are and all of that, to me, you started off with somebody who didn't show you what a nurturing woman, a loving woman, a providing woman look like, so.
And see, this is where we're going to separate here, because when I speak, I'm not speaking on feelings, and I'm not speaking about extreme situations. You may have the income to raise your child, but the average Black woman in America makes $31,000 a year and has a kid. You're not going to get your kid to a nice neighborhood on that income. The average Black man makes $41,000. And so if you're, even if you're a man and you're a single man, it's going to be difficult to get your child to a nice neighborhood on that income. That's just the numbers.
Well, it's not really. I mean, I say that because I wanted to point out. And when I'm saying that, what men speaking about women, I'm not really addressing you personally about how you see women.
I'm not feeling addressed personally.
This conversation.
It's just numbers
that people have. Yeah, numbers don't matter to me as much because I know that those numbers are often skewed in where they get those numbers from.
They're not skewed enough. I'm getting my numbers from blackdemographics.com, statistics from Black people for Black people.
Data,
that's where I get them.
You're getting quantitative data, but you're leaving out qualitative data.
The qualitative data is too difficult to measure. What we want, if you go with qualitative data, then there's a right answer for everything, and there's a wrong answer for everything. We need quantitative data so that we can figure out what's going on. Income is important.
I tell you, you can find
the amount of people in the Black home is important. Like all these things are important. You need to know the quantitative data.
You can find any data to fit your narrative. I'm gonna tell you that now. In these days, you can find whatever narrative you want to fit your narrative.
It's like the Bible.
That right there,
exactly.
That right there is just disqualifying.
The narrative is not there when you're dealing with numbers.
That's just disqualifying facts, and so we can't just disqualify the things that we disagree with. You have to look at the best data that is out there and use it. If you simply say, "Well, you could just make that mean whatever," then nothing means anything. And
let me say something real quick. Real quick. So, first and foremost, Laquisha, I would say that your narrative, in how well you've done as a single mother, and how well you have raised your children. I don't know if that's in the top of my head. The first thing that pops in my head is that is few and far between these days, right? I don't know for a fact, but I would say that is few and far between. But kudos to you for what you've done as a single mother. I think that's amazing. I think all single women that do it alone. You pointed out the fact that you've had some people, some help along the way, this, that, and the other, with good people in your support system. So I think that's great. And I think that's one of the things that's missing, because there should be a playbook, like a relationship playbook or something like, okay, this is the path you go if you're single and a woman. Number one, go and find some good men to help support and be a visual for your children or something like that. I think that's something quality to do. And it sounds like you've had some good support for your kids and stuff like that in their lives as you've come along. But with that in mind, something you said was great, which was you always think about who raised you. That should be something in a relationship playbook. Like, there should be a relationship playbook that you can go open up and look and be like, all right, I'm single and I'm a man and this is where I'm at in life. Okay, cool. Because when you're dating someone, that should be something that you're looking at. And I think part of the problem is that we're not looking at those things anymore. We're doing things purely off emotion. And I believe that is more cultural than anything else. Because in a lot of other cultures, when you look, you have arranged marriages and things of that nature. Love ain't got nothing to do with it. It's getting together for a particular purpose. You find love along the way. And I heard someone say that, Chris, I know you said that as well, that's not about love. You find love along the way. I have an aunt or a older cousin, second or third cousin or whatever. She was like that. She got married to her husband many years ago because he was stable, because, he wanted to marry her. He was stable. She wasn't in love with him or anything like that. But he was stable. She found love along the way, and they've lived a great, happy life. And I think that's something that's missing is some of the quantitative data in choosing a mate, right? Because if we would focus on some other things instead of just looking, oh, he's fine, oh, she's fine, oh man, we didn't hung out together and did this, that, and the other, and now I feel this certain type of way. Boom, I'm ready to spend the rest of my life with this person, instead of getting to know, okay, their mother, their father, what does that look like? What was their upbringing like? This, that, and the other. Those are things that are going to play a greater role in the relationship down the road and make a big difference, right? And so then when you start looking at women, as Dudley, Chris Dudley says, is women are leaving relationships. I think part of that is that nowadays there is a greater ability for a woman to walk away and do it alone. Like, right? Whereas the welfare system does reward you for that, right? But even still, with the way society's moving in this day and age, in my mind, I feel like we're kind of forgetting about the man, and more so the black man, and propping up women, and women are feeling so good about that prop, they kind of forgetting about the brothers too. So
yeah, and you can see that even in the chat that's going on in your room over here, because I mentioned facts, data, and statistics, just things that are true. And there are already people in the chat just going, no, you got to shut this man down. How dare you talk about women? Who hurt you? Who are you raised by? Did you see a good example? All what that is sign language, shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right. Instead of just listening and understanding and trying to come together, we throw out ways to insult someone who would dare speak out about any kind of truth, shame them into believing that they're wrong. And no matter what they say, you're right, because it's how you feel.
And let me get into these. Let me get into these comments real quick. Okay. All right. So real quick, Ramathis, y'all said, what about the absent dad? Mom is there. He's missing. Where's the accountability for men? I can't listen to this. These are the same useless conversations on Facebook. Don't leave, sis. Don't leave. Don't just run out and walk away. Stay with us. Stay with us. All right. Women don't really leave relationships. We get dogged out and have no other choice sometimes. All right. Again, remember blanket statements. 3-1. Remember blanket statements, folks. You're speaking from your point of view a lot of times. So you would have to say a lot of women, or some women, or women that I've experienced or know, or something like that. Right. And that's my opinion. This is becoming a cringe moment, listening to him place all blame on women. This is exactly why women can't listen when the speech is treating her as less than a damn prize. Okay, I get that. But remember, folks, we're conversing. So that the fact that we're having a conversation, it's gonna get ugly. This is what therapy looks like, I believe, in some cases. If you have couples, couples going to therapy, it ain't gonna feel good.
Not everybody wants to hear the truth. It hurts about themselves. Like,
man, people don't want the finger pointed at them. I believe that the biggest issue in our community, the melanated community, is the lack of mirrors. Right? Mm-hmm. People don't like looking at themselves. And I can tell, because some people shouldn't be wearing tights. Let's see. Very highly ignorant and offensive. Oh man, we already getting into throwing blows and stuff like that, folks. Come on now. We're conversing. So with conversation comes this side versus the other side. And if you're going to ever get to an understanding about yourself, other people, or anything, you have to listen to both sides, and you have to be able to. That's what listening looks like. All right. So, seems some commenters are upset by statistical facts, which is interesting. One thing I can say about brother Chris Dudley is his support system is evident. All right. He always has like 8,200 people with him when he's coming to speak. So that's good stuff. Love it. Accountability on both men and women. Absolutely. Shout out to Rashana Morrison. Johnny Wakefield. Hey, men now call us bitches and whores and or shores. I don't know. I be trying to keep up with the slang these days, and it'd be new words like every day. Our culture, we are so lazy to make slang. Like everything is sus. You can't say suspect, but you say sus. Like, I mean, so shores could be an actual like slang term. If it is, Johnny, please let me know.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, you know what? That's it. Shit whores. Oh my God. We can't say shit whores. We say shores. That's dope though. Men now call us bitches and shores. So why would a woman, that's the first time I ever heard that. Why would a woman stay around and listen to that mess? It is not how it used to be. He doesn't seem to understand that. No, see, here's where you're talking about how it used to be. How it used to be is they would get mad and tell you to go sleep on the couch. But let's just be real. Now they get mad and say, F it, you leave my house or I'm bouncing. And why? Because now there's a greater ability for a woman to step out and go do it on her own. She has that support system to do that. And society showcases that all the time. Society says, shows celebrities, out there, single life, not getting married, having babies, this, that, and the other. This is what society shows us, right? So when you talk about how it used to be, yeah, I think how it used to be, I've seen my mother and father were mad at each other plenty of times. Nobody ever left. They just like didn't speak and then they worked it out, right? So that's a big difference today. Ellie Dudley, women leave men and take the kids with them. Women engage in abuse at twice the rate men do. Make it make sense. All right, so that was a statistic that you brought up last week, Chris. So please find that statistics and give us the the source for that statistic right there. All right, statistics.
The source greater from a study it was a meta study, and I remember the leader of the study. Her first name was Jennifer, but I can't remember.
Okay, all right. So
in the study, and they
so let me get through these comments, and then hold that thought, and then tell us a little bit more about that study. So statistics are greater than feelings, and there's a two-part to that. Our society, our culture in general. I have a cousin who was a CNA years ago. She's now a nurse, but as a certified nurse assistant, she was by the bedside of a dying Jewish man. And she told me that this man said Black people are so emotional and passionate. And he said, it's great, but it's also a downfall, right? So, I don't know. But that's something to think about. We are very emotional people. Hence the reason why in the media, they play with us and toy with our emotions all the time. Officers' knees on neck. I don't think those are real officers. Let's see. Upset or speaking on how they feel and their own takeaway. Lose the judgment. Some men have bad behaviors, also like women. Absolutely. Relationships don't last because of behavioral issues. Absolutely. But I think that's on both sides, folks. People have bad behavior on both sides. And again, like Miss Laquisha Moore says, hey, look at the upbringing, look at the mother, look at the father. What did they not have a great example to look at and associate in their life as they got older? So Johnny Wakefield, it is okay for commentators to speak on what they want to say. And if others don't agree, that is a personal issue. Oh, come on, man. Don't be throwing shots. Yes, you have permission to express your ideas and feelings. Y'all really great. So back to the show. Hey, stop playing, y'all. Don't do this. It's political. Interesting thought there. I'd like to get some elaboration on that, General. Johnny Wakefield. So thanks, Laquisha, for speaking logical now. Black relationships are political. Okay. All right, I got you. I think so.
It is, yeah. Black relationships are political.
Yeah, I think so because it's the only relationships that are put out in public, you know, for the world to discern and decipher, right? You know, it's Black celebrity relationships. It's, you know, we are the only culture of people that take the worst of our worst and put it out for the public to see. Right. Everybody else, like, I don't know, sweeps it under a rug, which I think in therapy ain't a good thing anyway. But nonetheless, everybody in America and probably across the world needs therapy anyway. Kari Muhammad, a good education don't make him a man. His relationships will. And let's see. Ellie Dudley, degrees won't call the ambulance when a woman falls off the toilet at age 80. Her husband would, though. Okay, that's true. That is true. I know a dude right now. He was like in his 60s, and he's married to an 80-year-old, and I think he just, well, actually they weren't officially married, so he just broke up with her. You know, black don't crack. I don't know, but he's bouncing, and she's 80. Let's see. The Will Smith is the example of Black women influencing the man, husband, and fathers, as in the garden. Let's see, Johnny Wakefield, that part, get over the numbers and speak on something other than numbers and statistics. You know, I mean, numbers and statistics are still valid. All right, they are, but they have their place. All right, so me showing the numbers are necessary to date. Okay, that's TV, which is the problem. That's not a good source. Absolutely, the business use numbers, not emotional data in business. Okay, it really isn't a good source. Okay, there we go. Ooh, anyone for whom facts and figures don't matter is one others should call into question. Got you. I am hearing a narrative, feminine versus masculine, as American descendants of slaves. ADS, the brother is on point versus she is in her emotional feelings. Oh man, let's see. Y'all are going in right now. We don't worry. I mean, everybody's gonna get to address everything. Ellie Dudley, have you heard those stats before about Black men, women, and their children? It's upsetting, but the numbers show a story no one is. The numbers show a story no one is telling. Please listen and see. Here's where I think about that is the fact that the media always has a narrative. Mainstream media has a narrative. So what they put out there versus what is actually really going on. The one thing that I know in America that America has become great at, and it trickles down to every sect of society in America, is they are great magicians, illusionists, and whatnot. You know, I'm gonna show you this over here while I'm doing this over here, right? So interesting when you talk about that. Actually, we need to be questioning this dude. Let's see. Marriage is a business arrangement. When he doesn't make your part tingle anymore and you get bored, that's when the work of marriage sets in. Takes about 4 to 7 years to hit that point. I got you. I know the facts and statistics. Hilarious. Attention back on the show. Man, can I get through these comments? Let's see. I'm here every Saturday. Let's see. Real linear thought. Y'all are you are on point, brother. You telling the data. You are on point. This is why people don't speak on these topics. People can't let others have their own thought without trying to correct it. Pointless. And a lot of times when we are talking about these things, people are going in on the comments boxing. So that's another issue as well. No, you are making generalization.
Generalizations are valid.
Okay. Where is the accountability for the person that was there and thus had the most influence on the child? That is something to think about. That it's his truth, not everybody's truth. He never placed blame on women, but truth is truth. Women as a prize is a mindset that has been incredibly damaged. All right. People talk from the toxic perspective because they are all the ways to discuss this. The lack of mirrors, the name calling us, coming with us, emotional. The truth needs followers. The restructure of the family is a leftist liberal agenda against men. I mean, in today's society, you know, when a man a born man can be placed in a woman's prison and impregnate two of them. You know, we are headed in a really stupid direction when stuff like that happens. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in the news today. Men and women, this is Leonard Walker. Love when this brother speaks. Men and women operate on different clocks when it comes to family building. A woman's clock is much faster. Women have more life options. Now women have to consider self-fulfillment from many places in a smaller time period. Women can have it all, but does she really have it all? When does the man fit into the have it all scenario? Interesting to think about. The woman is the leftist supported by a Democratic liberals agenda to divide the natural family. Yes, that I will say that there's a lot of that y'all know. We spoke on it, you know, 65, 70s. That started going on, right? Black political agenda relationships are political, spot on. Barring extreme cases with IVF, women reach a natural peak for healthy childbearing. Women are on a biological timeline that with that in mind, it actually makes sense for a younger woman to date an older, well-established member of the community. Johnny Wakefield, we are talking about numbers and statistics, but can't talk about the neuroscience behind it. And sure, you can go ahead. Yes, but there are books to read, so let's do that first. All right, so I've finally gotten to the bottom of this comment thread, and John, I'm gonna leave it to you to go ahead. You know, I did a lot right there, so you start, and then you can pick and choose of what we do next.
You know what you just read, and all of those comments, what you just read, it definitely shows evidence of mental health issues amongst all of us as a people of color.
Man.
Right? So, you know, in other words, there is no conclusion to this because it's going to continue to be the finger pointing, but no one is looking at themselves and saying, hey, it's me, it's my issue. It's like this. You can claim whatever you want and how you was raised, but it's your problem to fix the shit. So you need to look in the mirror and fix your problem. It's it instead of, well, it's my mama's fault. It's the slave. It's the master's fault. You know what I'm saying? So, but here's a good question I definitely want to go into, and we may end up closing out with this subject here. And this is a very good subject, a very interesting topic. It is referring to mental health of men, homosexuality. Oh, did I say that? Yes, I did. Listen, check this out. This is very important for women to understand about the behaviors of men. And when we're talking about men's mental health, right? There are 3 different levels of homosexuality in Black men, in men, period. There are 3 different levels, right? And understand these 3 levels, and you will see a mental health issue. And I know Mr. Chris said last week is 0 mental health issues in homosexuality, but I'm gonna prove a point here, and then we can have this discussion, right? You got the first homosexual man that he's a masculine brother. He's very masculine, but he's on the down low. He's having sex with his other friend partner. They're going out shooting ball, you know. Hey, baby, I'm going out shoot ball. You know, he's the one that's got a wife at home or a girlfriend, and she doesn't know that he's putting his penis in another man's behind. Talking about that one there. That is definitely a mental health issue. If you don't believe that, go ask his woman what she would think of her man doing that. Secondly,
1978 when the
secondly, wait a minute, Chris. Let me finish. Wait a minute, Chris.
Homosexuality from the DSM.
Hey, Chris, go ahead. Hey, Chris, let the host finish and write your comment down, and then go ahead and jump in afterwards.
This is what we're talking about. Emotions. We can't help our emotions from cutting in. So we want to respect each other, right? So listen to what I'm saying. So number 2, then you have the gay man that looks, and he acts gay, but he looks like a man, but he acts gay. You know, he clips his fingers and do all of that. And that doesn't mean he's gay, because it could mean he just has feminine ways. He was raised by women. And then let's go to all the way to the other end. The man that's trying to be a woman. The one that wants to put on the dress, snap his fingers, and put on a wig. These are all mental health issues, because here's why. They have the highest suicide rates of all men, homosexuality, right? Because of their fears, because of their lack in accepting who they are, they have a problem. A kid growing up, you allow that kid to be a girl, he grow up and he becomes a man. He be like, hey, I want to experience women, but he came up too late. You done had him shoot up with some hormones, and that blocked his stuff from coming getting no hard. Mental health issue. If you look at the suicide rate today, the homosexual is through the roof, specifically transgenders, right? So we got to address these things, because while there are men walking around with this behavior and nobody wants to address it as a mental illness issue. Now, and I know, talking to you last week, the week before, Sister Moore, you talked about the issues of majority of men, maybe women too, who are homosexual, but chances are was molested when they was a child. And this crazy mess about your hormone speaks. Let me explain something to you, what hormones are. Hormones is something that secretes out a gland, and you got several glands in your body. None of these glands think, they go by what you think. So however you feel, a child is not born into this world knowing any sex that they are, or having any desires to have sex with anybody. These are learned behaviors that trigger the hormones. Here's another hormone that's very interesting that you need to know of how the brain works that triggers the hormones, right? It's the hormone of anger. Do you know that you can think of a fight and all of a sudden your brain will send out an adrenaline to where your heart starts beating fast and your blood vessels open up and you're ready to start a fight? It's all imaginal, because ain't no fight in your face. It's the same thing with a person who says they want the same sex. Where they get that from? To end up having desires for the same man, for another man. These are pickup behaviors. So what I'm asking is, what this statement is about men who are on the down low, men who are on the up and out, and men who are in the transition to trying to be a woman. Aren't these mental health issues?
No, they're not mental health issues. Now, unfortunately, these people are abused by so many others and, treated like they're lesser. And so that creates mental health issues. But no, it's not a mental. It was 1978 when the psychiatric community as a whole removed that from the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual. They removed it because it's not a mental issue.
Explain the suicide rate. Explain the statistic. Let's go to those words.
It's not there anymore. What you're doing is taking a theory from the suicide rate and let's applying it in 2022. And that's over 50. That's almost 50 years old. And you know what I tell people who think, I tell folks all the time, if you're thinking the same way when you're 30 that you were when you were 20, you wasted 10 years. You're going back 50 years. These things have been studied over the past 50 years. You're going to have to come up with some new information, because everything credible says that it's not a mental health issue. Everything.
You just passed up a statistic that I said about majority of homosexual men commit suicide. That's real.
The majority of homosexual men do not. Where did you find that? They don't commit suicide. There is a statistic. The highest portion.
I don't know. I'll be honest. I'm kind of worried about
suicide at a higher rate than heterosexual men. That's true, but that doesn't mean that the majority of them do. They just get it at a higher rate. And you know why?
It's a higher rate.
People treat them poorly, because you have to go through life not even being.
Because I mean, think about it.
Not being who you want to be, trying to hide yourself. You don't get to just stand up and be who you are. And to constantly, people think that there's something wrong with you when you're gay. And so when you have to deny yourself constantly, when you have to not be who you are, it's terrible for your mental health. And it is far more likely that you will commit suicide or partake in self-harming behaviors.
Yeah, I mean, more gay men have mirrors and love to dress really nice and look good. So I don't think they're gonna commit suicide, just because of that right there. I don't know.
You can't always tell how close someone is on suicide based on to suicide based on how they look. Unfortunately, for many folks, when they've made up their mind and they've decided to go ahead and do the act, they'll go out into the world and be perfectly calm. Like, hey, I have a path now. I'm good. I'm not going to make it until tomorrow. This is over. And so, you know, they'll seem like they're okay. But sometimes people report they're in a good mood because they've figured out what they're going to do. That doesn't mean they're not suicidal. You can't tell just on a look. You have to delve into the mindset and figure out what was going on with them.
No, I'm just saying it's hard to believe because, you know, black men love the black gay men, and they always the ones look, you know, they love to dress nice and look good, so they ain't trying to go nowhere. You know, they love looking at themselves in the mirror.
Right.
I like to dress nice and look good.
Miss Moore, you want to speak on that?
I told y'all not to get me in fights around here. No, well, so you are right as far as I thought it was 1974 though that it was removed from the DSM, but it was also replaced with a disorder that is that basically deals with the distress related to being homosexual, and that was called ego dystonic sexual orientation. That was
called say what now?
It was called ego dystonic sexual orientation, and that was to address the distress related to homosexuality. And that was in the DSM from 1980 to 1987. What I would say, as a person, first of all, everybody, I love the LGBTQ community. My twin sister's gay. I have been very enmeshed into that community, and I
think there's an IA on the end of it now.
I
think there's an IA on the end of it now.
Honestly, I'm gonna tell you.
I just want to add them in.
When it comes to all the stuff they keep adding on, I do kind of get a little annoyed. Like now and every time I'm in meetings, I gotta be like, oh, my pronouns is I don't understand what I feel like we have to deal with anything is emotional reasoning, because that's the cognitive distortion that we're dealing with when you think about so people choosing to have sex with whoever they want to have sex with or be attracted, because you know I think we make it an issue of sexuality and not an issue that's really related to bonding, but that you have to look at the cognitive distortion of emotional reasoning. Okay. And that's what we're experiencing right now, even on this show, even with the comments. I feel, so therefore it is. I feel, so therefore I am. And so even when it comes to transgender and things, I do believe that is a cognitive issue. I feel like I am a man, so therefore I am a man. No, just because you feel like you're something doesn't mean that you are. And just because you decide to identify yourself as something, that doesn't make it real. And that is what we're dealing with. So I don't, you know, even though like I have nothing against anybody choosing to be gay or do whatever they want to do sexually, because you got straight people who have a lot of alternative sexual lifestyles that aren't consistent with the Black family being together and all that. You know what I mean? You have people who have open marriages and all kinds of stuff people decide to do. So it's alternative, it's different, it's what they choose. But at the end of the day, we cannot ignore that there is a great deal of mental health issues that are specific to the LGBTQ and the other letters that y'all added on that I'm not trying to be a jerk about, I just don't remember. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have to think about that. That is what we're dealing with. We as a society now, it's like, well, you have to refer to me as this because this is how I identify. And it is cognitive distortions that it's forcing everybody else to live in a reality that's not real.
Absolutely. What you're saying, it's the idea of getting rid of logic and common sense. You know, anybody get a chance, go and Google the death of common sense. There's a obituary, a fun little pun obituary that makes a hell of a lot of sense when it comes to the death of common sense, right? But as we get rid of logic and common sense, then you have news reports about a man that felt like a woman. He hadn't had the surgery yet, but he felt like a woman, and he was placed in a women's prison. And then at some point, he began to feel like a man again. I mean, I think I would feel like a man again if I was like the only one around a whole bunch of women locked in jail cells. I would feel like a whore of a man in that moment. And this man sat there and got two of the women pregnant.
You're talking about extreme cases. And you can find extreme cases of everything.
But think about that, Chris. That's an extreme case, and it's starting now. So where are we going to be going in the future?
To the 1%, the 5%, that moves the conversation nowhere. Right. You have to speak about what happens with most people. Ego dystonic homosexuality was introduced as a mental health diagnosis in 1980. It was removed in 1987. Didn't even take very long. Mm-hmm. So that it's not an actual thing. Scientists are going, no, that's not real.
But there's this thing, right, that is happening when you say it was removed, which I understand. I just said the same thing, that it was removed and it was from 80 to 87 that it was replaced. But what I'm trying to say is there are a lot of things that are removed and added to support cognitive distortions. And that is what I'm trying to say. If we're talking about how I feel, so therefore I am, then how I feel comes from how I think. How I think comes from somewhere, which that is psychological.
Right.
That is psychological. So we got to get away from homosexuality or anything as a right or wrong thing and deal with what is going on, period, in people, no matter what they're choosing. Because everybody's choices, when we sit in here talking about even the Black woman and how she walks away from things, and our men, how they do things, like all of this stuff comes from the way people feel. And the way they feel is tied to the way they think. And the way they think is tied to biological, psychological, social factors, you know? So it all comes from a place. And that's why I've dealt with a lot of people in the LGBTQ community, and I have seen that there is a lot of underlying issues that a lot of people haven't even gone to therapy for ever. And so when we're thinking about, even if you say, I feel like I'm this, so now I'm changing. That is why there is a high suicide rate amongst transgender, because the issue that they're dealing with of not accepting self or whatever, that is related to their psychological patterns and not related to their physical appearance. Facts. So they're changing. Even you see people now, you see people with body dysmorphia getting, we out here buying butts.
Facts.
You know, so I have a problem with the way that I look, and I think that it is going to be a factor in how I feel or help me get what I want. But a lot of times the issues are related to psychological functioning of getting what you want. Then it's tied to changing a part of your body or chopping off a part of your body or adding on a part of your body. Like that is what is going on. It's in the mind. And that is why even when they do have all this stuff done, they still are depressed because they have not dealt with the depression they have versus changing changing physical things about themselves. So,
but that's not universal. Most people who get gender affirming care feel better because they get affirmed. As we all know, being validated, feeling like you're not crazy makes you feel better.
Okay. Is that with medication?
Affirming, right? You say
it's with medication and therapy.
Is that with medication? Yeah. So here's the thing. It's very interesting.
No, I want to ask about gender affirming, right? Okay. Because if gender affirming, are you saying gender affirming or gender identity affirming? Because me affirming your gender, I can, like, you're a man, right? I can affirm that you are a man. But if you were like, I am a woman, I feel like I'm a woman, so therefore I am a woman. Me coming in and affirming that, I'm affirming your identity of yourself, not your actual gender. Because I know as a person that you are a man. But if you identify as a woman, then I'm affirming your identity. And even as a therapist, a clinician, a person, I don't mind affirming what a person feels to be real about themselves. But I also know.
Wait, what you're talking about is sex versus gender.
Yes.
Those are separate things.
Gender,
we shouldn't mix those up at this point. We should understand that your biological sex and the gender that you feel like can be two different things.
How you feel, correct.
And I'm telling you that how you feel comes from the way that you think.
Exactly. Absolutely. And
yes,
that's
how you feel comes from the thoughts that are on your, yes, that's
correct.
True.
Exactly. And so your thoughts come from how you was raised and the things you saw. So here's the thing that's very interesting. I heard this thing, and from a male's point of view, I think we said this when we opened up in one of our first shows, is that this trying to identify. One thing I noticed that we have as a people is an identity crisis. We don't know whether we're Black, Moor, Hebrew. We always trying to find something. African American.
Before all this other identity crisis.
Right. So we're going through all this identity crisis, which is definitely a mental health issue, right? Because that's why we can't even come together. Now we're dealing with the issue of whether or not he's a man or he's a woman. But let me tell you something about science that never can be changed. If you are born with a prostate, you are male. Facts. Doesn't matter. You are male. If you are born with an ovary, you are a woman. And check this out, no matter what you can do, you can be buried and they can find your bones 1,000 years from now and they'll know this is a male species. What makes you a man isn't your behavior. What makes you a man is whether or not you are an adult. So they can look at those bones and tell whether those bones is a man or a child boy, right? But they're going to know it's a male species. So you can walk around in this fake world all you want, and you can say you want to be. What she's saying is that I still recognize your ass as a man, but I'm going to play with this little funny identity shit that you're going to go through. And I'm going to say, yeah, you're a woman. But nevertheless, I know for a fact in the back of my brain, your ass is a man, and I'm not going to play this he-she game.
How are we helping the health of Black men right now? This is a show on Black men's health. How are we dealing with Black men's health right now? Because this conversation has gone somewhere that is away from us again. This is what happens with Black men.
No, this is the conversation.
We stop talking about Black men.
We're
talking about Black men.
We are still talking about
most of Black men are heterosexual. So why are we dealing with the extreme situations rather than
it's still an issue?
51% of Black men. That's enough.
Most 51% Black men are not killing each other.
Gives you the majority.
But we're still having
51% of Black men are heterosexual.
Right. But it's
so
still an
why
issue.
Are we talking about something that doesn't affect the majority of our men?
Oh, I'm trying to tell you right now, if you listen, it doesn't matter what percentage it is, it's still a mental health issue amongst men. We are in the subject of talking about mental health amongst men. All men ain't on drugs either, but that's a mental health issue. All men ain't in prison either, but that's a mental health issue. Why we want to sweep one up under the rug and talk about the other? No, we should spend the time to talk about every element because somebody's listening, understanding that element is
We've
an
spent
issue.
enough time talking about homosexual issues.
No, we just started.
A gigantic issue right now. It's a gigantic issue for that community, but for Black men as a whole, we have other problems, and that's not it.
One of them.
I want to talk about what's really going on with us, and that's not it. Black men, I'm here to support you in your issues and what you're dealing with. I don't care if it's gender. I don't care if it's your past. I don't care what trauma it is. I don't care if it's sex. I don't care if it's violence. I'm here to address those issues. I'm not here to deal with any kind of conspiracies or anything like that. Just Black male issues.
Okay, and let's talk about that. Because but one thing I will say is that what was one time 1% becomes a greater majority down the road. So if we don't focus on these little things that are happening, like a man feeling like he's a woman inside, and then going to a woman's prison, and then impregnating 2 women because he now feels like a man. That 1% becomes a greater majority down the road. Why? Because we didn't.
Right now, it's 1%.
It hasn't yet. It hasn't yet, but it does, and it has the ability to do so. Just as plenty other things have the ability and have become a greater majority because we don't focus on it. But let's talk now. Let's focus now.
Not grown beyond 16% of the population in 50 plus years. That's something we should be talking about.
Whose community? What'd you say?
He said, why haven't we grown past 16%?
Why? Yeah,
because if a man puts his thing inside of another man, it won't make a baby.
Why are we stagnant?
Probably because Black men get killed at higher rates.
Yes.
Abortion rates. It's a lot of reasons of why there would be a non, and we have grown because we were.
And they're openly gay at higher rates as well. So that plays a
because we were 13%.
Really
but I think that when we are dealing with
part of it,
it's
not a big enough part to be concerned about.
I think that when you're on somebody's show, you have to talk about what they want to talk about. But I understand. Like, I don't know how it got so highly charged, about this issue, because I think how we address any issue should just be from a logical standpoint. Period. That we should not feel annoyed or anything by the subject matter, because it's just a subject, and to speak on it and move on.
Correct.
I don't feel or think that this is a issue that should be ignored, but also I do think it is an issue that is riddled with a lot of bias. Yes. So that is why it can get pretty sensitive, and that is why we don't have these conversations enough.
Facts.
I'm not,
and logic does encompass statistics.
I'm not annoyed. I'm not hurt. I'm not bothered by this. What I am is focused. What I want to do is deal with Black male issues. It's the title of the show, and that's what I want to deal with.
But you act like we're not talking about
homosexual issues. That's not what's there. If we're going to talk about Black
so we understand that that's
80% of Black male issues.
Yeah, that's a portion of it, and we understand that. It is a portion, and it is something that warrants some conversation. But here, let's keep it moving. Superman. Let's see. I'm free to wear a Superman costume all the time. I can change my name to Superman legally. Does that mean if I jump off a roof, I'll be able to fly? No. So that means at best, I can wear a Superman costume and pretend to be Superman, but I'll never actually be Superman. And let's see. Let's go. Let's see. I'm no longer identifying as Black anymore. Cool. That extreme example shouldn't be a basis to oppress the culture as a whole. And I agree with that. And I wasn't saying that extreme, but again, we started with, men going into women's bathrooms and assaulting women because they felt like a woman inside, and things are constantly getting bigger and bigger. The issues are getting bigger and bigger. And now all of a sudden, you got men going into women's prison and impregnating women, right? So those issues do become greater. With that in mind, let's see, can't have this brother on the Truth Be Told show. Yeah, we'll talk about that. It seems that some people seek to cure homosexuality. They're worried about the moral implication of it, I suppose. And that's valid, right? That's a valid, that's a person's valid point if they are worried about the moral implication of it. I think that is a number that is part of the numbers as to what we stated is we haven't grown in whatever statistic you said about how we haven't grown. That's one of the issues because, people are focused on that more in their life, along with many other greater issues. That is a small percentage as to why we haven't grown as a culture of people. But with that being said, let's talk about top 3 things that a person can do right now. I always want to leave the show with some type of thoughts towards the top 3 things that a person can do right now to exercise better mental health. Laquisha?
I would say, do things to increase the self-awareness. So therapy is definitely a way to increase self-awareness. Do things that help you out physically, because the way that you do things physically impacts certain chemicals in the brain, and also like eating well, trying to eat well, drinking water, trying to make sure that those biological factors are touched there too internally. But yeah. And I would say try to. I think I did 3, but reading is fundamental.
Absolutely. Chris, go right ahead, sir.
I'd say get into therapy, even if the only reason you want to go in is to talk about how much you hate what I said. Go in and talk to somebody. And we need to understand how to separate our emotions from what's real. We conflate those things too often. So that helps you learn to see the world around you and help you understand things better when you know that what you feel isn't actually reality all the time. And like Laquisha said, nutrition, huge deal. When you eat better, you feel better, you can think clearer, you sleep better, and that sleep also helps improve your mental condition. So, I mean, she was bang on about that.
Absolutely. So, I'm gonna speak on a couple things, and then John will kind of close this out a bit. And as we look at this, first thing I want to say is emotional intelligence. We spoke a bit about that. It's kind of silly for someone to say, that it's ignorant to go back and forth with people in comments when you're going back and forth with people in comments. You know what I mean? That's a little silly. With that being said, Dr. Stephen Covey, there's a book, The 8th Habit, From Effectiveness to Greatness, and it speaks on emotional intelligence. I believe that everyone in our community should read that book, as well as many others, but that is one that speaks about emotional intelligence being a greater gauge of a person's IQ than even their IQ or EQ being a greater gauge of a person's intelligence than IQ, right? And it's because I look at it and I think, your ability to allow someone to say something that you don't agree with, yet be quiet, listen, is something that will get you further in life, to me, than a lot of other things. Because one thing that we do not do in this day and age is just listen. We don't listen anymore because technology has created this thing where we don't have to, by definition, technology is the ability to make things easier, right? So we've created a lazy society that doesn't want to pick up and touch the paper of a book anymore to read it. I believe there's a particular synergistic thing that goes on with paper and trees and the land and all of that, right? There's something there that's of greater substance than, just doing everything digitally, right? But nonetheless, I think that EQ is something that people need to focus on more, because our inability to just not throw a dagger at someone is such at such a high rate. It's ridiculous. That right there is the reason why, some of us are in trouble out there with the police, right? Because you don't know how to just, shut up and focus on. It's not the time at that point to get all emotional, right? It's not the time. You do that later if you need to. But I mean, I just feel like, emotional intelligence is something that our culture as a whole needs to focus on. And as far as the whole, how you feel inside thing, I mean, that is something I think that is a topic that we need to talk about more, this whole gender thing, because it was something that was small before, and now it's becoming a really big thing. I mean, there's something to be said about Zaya Wade, right? Dwayne Wade and your girl's daughter. It's not even about, what'd you say?
Son.
Or yeah, son. I'm sorry. I get confused with it. But their son, who is the issue to me the first issue isn't the fact that their son is focusing on becoming a woman at such a young age, and the parents are supportive of that. You know, he's gonna chop that thing and throw it in the bushes. You know, and then dating a girl who's, you know, becoming a woman. I guess she's gonna take the thing that he chops off and then she's gonna stick it there, right? So the girl becoming a man or whatever, right? That's not even the biggest issue. The fact that you got a 14-year-old on media, PDA, kissing and all that stuff, that is a bigger issue in and of itself. Well, you shouldn't do that even in general. That's not even cool. But that is a conversation that does need to be had, because we're moving in a particular direction. I mean, how people feel and being able to walk out here and just act like they feel. I mean, when I was younger, I felt like a squirrel running around getting a nut. I didn't put on a furry suit and try to go out here and actually be a squirrel and climb trees and stuff like that. No. So, you know, with that being said, folks, I just think that there are some of these smaller issues that we do need to address. And, you know, there is some logic behind it that doesn't really make common sense as to the fact that we're doing these things, right, as a society. But that's my viewpoint. Brother John, go ahead and drop something real quick.
Definitely. I love this conversation. I love that we was able to have this conversation over the different topics and different issues. And one of the things I just kind of want to just point out is there's this I remember reading Dr. Jewel Pookram's book, Straight from the Heart. And it's very, very good book on relationships. And in this part, she talks about this chemical called oxytocin, I believe. Yeah. It is what is called a bonding pair. It's another word for it called bonding pair. It's a chemical that is released from the brain, and it makes you bond with the person, like the same chemical with the mother and the child. There's a bonding chemical in the brain that bonds them with the child. Well, guess what? A woman releases 10% more of that chemical than men. And as she explained, this is the reason why if a woman can release this chemical from her brain on first sight of a man, she begins to release this chemical to make her feel bonded with this man. But this man has not released his chemicals. And she explained this is why if a woman gives him sex too early before he creates his oxytocin chemical connecting to her, he walks away from her relationship faster. He can go and have other women. This is why he easily can walk away from his child. And there are many reasons for that. Blocking of that chemical in his brain could also be drugs. Marijuana plays a great role in reducing your faculties in your brain and being able to manifest and or think more energetically with the environment around you, because there is a such thing as an electromagnetic field and electric magnetic wave in the brain that brings you whatever you want in your life. One thing we're talking about, the chemical in the brain, which is some of the reasons why we have these problems. And it does deal with food, because here's the thing. Just like Joe, you and I, we had Dr. Akmal on, a holistic doctor, and we talked about the organs in the body are connected to certain behaviors. Like, for instance, the liver is connected to your anger, right? When you are angry, it's because your liver is agitated, and liver is an issue that's dealing with your blood, right? So sometimes if a person can be normally driving and see something and they're okay with it, but another person sees the same thing and they're agitated with it because of their liver. Dealing with diet. A person who drinks alcohol has liver problems, right? Which could affect how they see things. So basically, the way you are in your life and what you're seeing in your life is what has already been put in you to see. If you study anything about Rich Dad, Poor Dad book on psychology, which I'm all in to the brain and how the function works, is that why do 80% of the kids who grow up poor stay poor, and no matter how smart they are, and why do 80% of the kids who grew up rich stay rich no matter how dumb they are? Donald Trump, right? So this is why people who go shoot ball and become ball players are usually bankrupt 5 years after. 80% of the people who go shoot ball or whatever are broke 5 years after they retire. Why is that? Because of their subconscious mind bringing back that brokenness. In other words, if you think you are lacking, if you don't think you are abundantly wealthy, I don't care how broke you think you are wealthy, money-wise, but if you think you're broke, then the universe will respond as you being broke, and it will give you that brokenness, right? So a lot of us are walking around with this distinct feeling in the back of our brains that we don't know where it came from, because we don't understand the neuroscience between theta wave of a child being born to 7 years old, and most of our lives are controlled by our subconscious mind. So if we ain't addressing those things, then we're not really going to touch some of these young men out here who are out here robbing and killing and shooting each other, because we're not touching the issues that are not on that are on TV, in our music, in our radio that we're listening to, that we're unconsciously playing music with our children in the back listening to that, and then we wonder why they shoot this behavior. So I don't see this as no pointing finger, you the problem, woman, man, you the problem. I think each and every individual is responsible for themselves. You need to fucking look in the mirror and fix your issue. I think all men, before you even get in a relationship, and I say this for women too, before you get in a relationship, you should understand certain things. I think that women who get in a relationship should not get in a relationship seeking sex or having sex with someone. But also, I think for the most part, even for men, go into a relationship and you broke, you ain't got no money, you ain't got no way, you have no business having sex, right? Because this is what's creating the problem over and over again. So somehow it's got to stop. If it don't, and we don't look at the issue behind the neuroscience behind it, television, music, the radio, and we ain't trying to turn off that television, and then we're never going to fix the problem. We're only going to cover it up, right? Because we're never going to really dig in to the subconscious mind of why this person's behaving this way. We do a thing about money management, and how to think abundantly in yourself in order to attract wealth. Right. I think most men's problem, specifically men who's on the lower income, is the money issue. If they were to able to assert themselves, to really fulfill their dreams, they wouldn't have issues. It'll be a totally different ball game. But I believe because men see the lack of opportunity from their own brain, from what they're told, not from what's out here, because this is a world of abundance. You can do whatever you want to do in this society. The problem is your mindset. If you change the mindset, the wealth and abundance is there for you. And so if we're not addressing how a person think, like the sister said, where that comes from, you thinking, where did that come from? Your behavior, where'd you get that from? From someone close to you or your parents, right? And so we run around with this behavior of being broke and with destitute, and that attitude continues, right? And so now we're in this condition. So the point is that you are an abundant person. If you can think, you can walk, you have 100 trillion cells in your body that are moving. That is an issue that you are in abundance. Lastly, there's this word called peptide neurotransmitter. I definitely would love for you to look that up. PEPTIDE. I did a 1-hour lecture on peptide neurotransmitter. I'll plug it into this thing, and then you can pull it up and look at it. I did a 1-hour lecture on peptide neurotransmitter. What is a peptide neurotransmitter? A peptide neurotransmitter is a cell that holds emotions in your body. All your emotion is in your body, and your cells are membranes that are holding that memory, right? And so let's say, for instance, you got over 100 trillion cells in your body. You lose 1 billion cells a minute, and you gain billions of cells a minute, right? A cell coming to your body doesn't know what you're thinking, doesn't know you're feeling until it gets there. Well, imagine now, if you're happy for 20 minutes or you're sad for 20 minutes, those are 20 billion new cells that are happy or sad based on what you're thinking. So if you're sad for 20 minutes and you got 20 billion sad cells, when you become happy, those cells become peptides and they become dormant. And those cells are waiting for more sad cells so they can party together, right? Because it's based upon the person thinking. And so this is why we're driven towards certain things. Some people continue to have the same relationship, abusive relationship, hitting the eye, and you get the same man, another man hits you in the eye, or you go to the same woman that abuses you and another woman abuses you, because there's something dealing with your peptides of your memory bank that continues to fuck with your transmitter in your subconscious mind that brings about that same scenario lifestyle back into your life. If we're not addressing that, then we kind of sweeping shit under the rug. And so what I try to explain to everyone, and I'm getting ready to close, I try to explain to them that you are an abundant. You got to see yourself in an abundant individual and fuck what everybody thinks of you. You have to feel good about yourself. You have to be able to understand that you are an abundant person and the whole world is at your fucking feet and you can do whatever you want to do in this life. What you have to do is stay focused and put your mind to it and get out of this other shit that's distracting you. But I guarantee you, if you change your mindset, change that mindset, your life will change in front of you. That's a fact.
Man, so we've had such great dialogue here. There was some rocky patches. I feel like we all in a relationship now. There were some rocky patches and whatnot, and then we came through on the other side and smiles everywhere. Go ahead real quick. I want to make sure that people can contact the two of you and basically be able to reach out to you, even if they, I don't know if the both of you do telehealth at all or what have you, but, so people can reach out to you, even if they just shoot you some Cash App, $200 to sit down and have a conversation, whatever the case may be, then I want to make sure people can do that. So, Miss Laquisha, if you can go ahead and just give your contact information, I appreciate you real quick.
I can be reached at laquisha.moore@gmail.com. That is LAQU.ISHA.Moore MOORE@gmail. And then also I'm easier to probably get to by phone. 502-315-9969. I am not currently taking new clients, but I do have referrals if people need them to great therapists. And I'm definitely open to anybody wanting to have a conversation about mental health for any reason. So,
thank you.
Absolutely. Chris?
You can reach me via email at edifyingcounselor@gmail.com. My phone number is right there, 502-230-3323. If you Google Black male therapist in Louisville, I think I'm one of the first who comes up on Psychology Today.
Yes.
So you can find me on Psychology Today. You could hit the email or the call, and I answer those pretty quickly. And just before we go, I want to let Black men know, I know that we've seen a lot of Black men in public get abused, and we've seen it be laughed at and downplayed like it's nothing.
That's right.
And we need to stop ignoring that kind of thing and stick up for our brothers. And that's all. I'm here to stop. I'm here to talk about how we need to work on that, how we need to come up. So absolutely. Stop ignoring that. Folks, pulling out a cell phone, hitting record is not how you help all the time.
Right.
There's so many things when I look at that, from, officers' knees on neck or whatever. I know personally God just keeps me out of certain scenarios because God knows what I will do.
Even when you're hearing folks talk about, how a lady might have slapped her man and pushes him around or yells at him, gets the finger in his face, all of that is emotional and sometimes physical abuse. Don't let it happen. Man, yeah, because Louisville women, this is their thing right here. Yeah. Don't let that happen.
I'm telling you.
You're right. I see it all. I saw it all as a cop. I'm telling you all the time.
This is Louisville right here.
Doing that whole thing, and it's like, why are you beating your men down? Because your community can't come up if you're beating your men down.
Like, why are you talking with your finger? Like, what is your finger doing? What are you talking about? Hey, but look, this has been a fantastic show. Loved it. Appreciate the two of you. Man, I feel like we could fill out the rest of the year going to a part 32 on this subject right here. Be crazy, but man, definitely. What I really do want is I want to talk to the both of you about having you come on and do a potential weekly health segment, you know, a 5-minute health wrap up, a mental health wrap up or something like that from your perspective. So we'll talk off air about that. Appreciate the both of you.
Yes.
John and I are going to just wrap up here in 1 second. But thank you both for coming. And until next time, you both are always welcome to come on the show. A lot of comments out here for the both of you. You know, everyone just loved the conversation. So we just appreciate you. One thing I will say is Chris has set the bar for support, bringing his support with him, because I'm telling you, there's now it's like 83 people that he brought with them that are in the comments. So awesome stuff, folks. Until next time, Laquisha, Chris, we thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Great meeting you, Laquisha.
All right.
All right. So with that in mind, then brother.
Yes, sir.
What you think? What you think, man?
Man, it was an awesome show. I think, you know, we definitely pointed out some things. And again, if you're listening thoroughly, you heard solutions. You heard the issue and you heard solutions in it. And so you can see the solution inside the problem if you're listening to it, right? And so there was a lot of nuggets thrown at women too. Woo, I don't know. It just kind of made me feel uncomfortable, but it's there. And
but I think uncomfortability is a path to look at sometimes, because it's through uncomfortable scenarios and situations do we find resolve in a lot of cases. You know, being a business owner can be uncomfortable, and when you know, getting beat up mentally, it's good to keep going, because if you keep going through that uncomfortable stage, you can get to the other side where you end up being comfortable. And you know, and I just want to say, I got to give a shout out, man. And I don't do this often. But let me just say, you know, what I got this morning at 10:06 a.m. In my chat was, "Hey babe, we just waking up. Good morning, my amazing husband." Let me just say, you know, ain't no better feeling than, you know, when your lady, your support system, your backbone comes and is like, you know, just so supportive, man. And that just can make you just make you feel like you can take over the world, man. So there is something to the idea of having another person, an adult like yourself, when you're out here, especially men, you know, because we're told we're not supposed to cry. You can do it. You know, I can remember years ago going to child support, jobless, and the female judge telling me, "Man, I think you can do it. I'm not going to lower it to where you are right now, which is without a job. You know, I'm not going to do that because I think you can do it." Damn. You know what I mean? So now I got, you know, I'm having to deal with this stuff piling up as I'm trying to, you know, assert myself out into this working world, you know, years ago. So there's something to that, again, when you have someone that is supportive, that can, you know, so in whatever way that is, again, your kids are not your boyfriends or your girlfriends. So a lot of y'all need to fix that in single households. But there is something to having another adult to be a support system out there, man, and that is the way things were naturally set up, and I think we veer so much away from what made so much more sense. I ain't saying, for instance, that you know, the Christian religion, you know, is the thing to be, but there are some principles there that, you know, as a society we veered away from, and we went from, you know, kids cutting in line years ago to now kids cutting other kids up and shooting left and right in the schools, right? So there's some principles there, some principles, universal principles that we've gotten away from, that I think it needs to be notated, and we need to focus on more so. But nonetheless, man, I appreciate it, brother. I love what we do here. I love doing it with you. I would never have any other person here, to rock with on this show, man, because we just, we do some amazing things, and I love it. Appreciate you, family.
Man, you too, brother. And one thing I think when I'm mentioning about, I don't know about, and I say this, I don't know how many women some people have met. I met some great women. I think I've met more great ones that I have that wasn't great.
But you know what? And just to speak to what you're saying there, mindset, right?
Mindset.
So if you focus on the ills of anything, correct, you're gonna get more of the ills. Where focus goes, energy flows. So you focus on poverty, you're going to get more of that poverty in your face. If you focus on bad women, you're going to get more bad women. If you focus on bad men, you're going to get more of that in your face. And so now that becomes your reality of what is and isn't out there. So,
and that's the issue. And that's why I don't want to get in. I don't like the men issues. Men's issue is men issue. I don't want to look at it as the men's issues is because of women. No, it's because of women. But it goes back to because of men, because I found that the reason that we had women different today than we did yesterday is because fathers was in the home, same as your demographic in boys, young boys without a father. And what we see today, we didn't see it in the 60s. Fathers was in the house. So it's extremely important of the behavior of women in relationships based upon their first relationship with their dad to understand a man. The way the woman should first understand any man should be through the relationship of her father first. She didn't get that, then she's going to get bits and pieces out here in the street unless she has an uncle or a big brother, right? And that may play a role. But if you're coming in a bitter situation and it's bitter, the mother's bitter with men, and that girl grows up bitter, well, that's a treatment. And then here you got a brother that's already dealing with a lot of stuff. He didn't have a dad. He's already into whatever is the newest thing, the music, wearing your pants down, smoking weed, whatever they smoking today that's making them zombied out. They smoke some shit they smoking out here and make you zombied out. But nevertheless, these are piled on issues. And I don't know where we can stop it if we're not talking about unplugging the television and getting some books in people's hands. You see people now, 90% of the people you see walking got phones in their hands. They're doing this with the phone. They ain't picking up books. They ain't reading no more. They're not learning. So now we just allowing society tell us who we are, what we think. Now we got schools saying they can now start teaching children, hey, you don't want to be a boy, you don't have to be, you can be a girl, and that becomes normal. And then we think that's okay, but it's not okay. That's another pile on our issue and our problems. But as I want to close is this. I say this for Black men. Your ass ain't had it hard enough, if you ask me. Why do I say that? I think for a fact that pressure on our necks makes us better people. I think for what we've been through, removing the pressures makes us punks and wimps. Either your ass is gonna make some shit happen or you fucking ain't. It's just that simple, right? So you can, I think for some point, even listening to this, you're gonna have some brothers loving this point because they want to be the victim. They want to say, yeah, it's too much, it's just too hard out here. And I'm gonna tell you this. They ain't made it hard enough for you. If you ain't learned to assert yourself yet, your ass is done somehow punked out and said, oh, the women is beating me down. Oh, and then now we're looking at other people who are coming into this country from nothing. And I've seen Africans come over here selling incense and glasses and clothes out of the trunk of their car. Now they got a store. Abu on 18th and Broadway, if you don't know, I met him on the corner in his car selling items, right? And so why do these Africans think that African Americans are lazy? Because here's the thing. They've seen that we've been over this country all this time and we ain't doing shit. So I say for some point, they ain't feeling sorry for us. No other culture is feeling sorry for us when they come over here. So what I'm saying is that at some point, it's your responsibility to pull your bootstraps up, look in the fucking mirror and say, I'm gonna get out here and make some shit happen regardless of the condition. Listen, they put us in slavery. Yes, they did. They brought us into this country. We can say all of that, but it's our fucking responsibility to do something about this shit instead of victimizing ourselves and making ourselves a victim and liking the victimization. Yeah. That's the problem. You can take that victim shit. You can take all that pain you got and ball that shit up and fucking make a money off of it. Make a mint off that shit and turn your life around. But if you're gonna punk out over there, because on my field, I don't hold men's hands. I don't do it. I put your ass to work. I'll give you some products to put in your hands, but I'd be damned if I'm gonna be out here working and just give you money just because you say you're hungry. No, nigga, I'm gonna put some instance in your hand and say, fucking now get out on the corner like I did and get some fucking work in. So that's the thing. So I ain't feeling sorry for the men. I am not feeling sorry for them because when I go into prison, I tell them it's your fucking responsibility. When you get your foot on that door, or when you go out and you put your feet in that ground, either you're gonna make it or you're going to die. It's just that simple. You're gonna go back in prison. So it's your fucking choice, but it's your choice.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well said, man. Love it. Absolutely. You know, this has just been a fantastic show. Awesome, brother. You know, folks, we're going to see y'all again next week. I don't even know. We're going to have to actually have a serious meeting to figure out how we're going to follow up this show. You know what I mean? So, because, you know, again, just mind blown emoji on that one here. So, you know, shout out. Let's see. Great. Tough love. Check the book. You're likely not a racist. So that's the name of the book. You're likely not a racist. That's a good one to check out. You know,
because that's a book called "You're Likely Not a Racist."
Yeah, I believe is what Dr. Laquisha Kid is talking about there.
Gotcha.
Definitely need to check because, you know, again, I believe I'm assuming just by the title that it's talking about mentality and you know, your mindset and how to get away from some of these things that have been put into your brain to make you, you know, think certain ways. But either way, folks, again, until next time, then man, we are absolutely out of here for reals this time, man. Hey, love you, bro. Appreciate you,
bro. All right, man. Peace.
Hey folks, check out healthdaddywoww.net. 100% plant-based herbs and supplements. Whether you're in person or online, use the word tipping for 10% off. Remember, feel better, look great, healthdaddywoww.net. Remember, healthdaddywoww.net.
Habibi Trading Company, home of soap, sticks, and Saya Baba products. Over 400 locations at a store near you. Cincinnati, Ohio, Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky, Southern Indiana, or find yours online at sayababa.com. Again, that's sayababa.com. Habibi Trading Company, where you can find fragrances to incite your senses.
You are listening to The Tipping Point Show with your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, John Yeah. Right here on WLOU. Stream it live on Facebook and WLOUonline.com. And now, The Tipping Point Show.
Great show, Joe.